Welcome to Shift Your Reality podcast, where transformation begins and self-worth blooms. I'm your guide on this cosmic journey, Kübra Özgüvenç, a spiritual artist, coach, and astrologer. In this channel, you will explore the realms of self-discovery, unlocking the power within you to lead a life of purpose and abundance. Together, we delve into ancient wisdom, modern insights, and practical tools that illuminate your path toward embracing your innate worthiness. Tune into Shift Your Reality podcast as we embark on an adventure of self-worth, empowerment, and limitless potential. Remember, your journey to greatness begins with a single shift. Subscribe now and become a part of our Cosmic Rising tribe, and let's make every second count. Welcome to another episode in the Shift Your Reality podcast. Today I have beautiful Riley Molinario with us, who is the founder of Relationship Intelligence and an expert on relationship. So as an entrepreneur, I know how important it is to be supported by your partner to be able to rise in your business. And I can't wait to talk more what Riley do and all the things that she's going to share with us today. Welcome, Riley. How are you today?
Hi, thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm doing really well, thank you.
So could you please share a little bit about yourself besides what I shared, because it was very small. I did an entrance, but what do you do, how you support people, and anything that you want us to know about here.
Yes, so I am the founder of Relationship Intelligence, and this came from my experience. I was abandoned when I was born. I then lived with my mother and my stepfather in this very abusive household. There was a lot of trauma, there was a lot of abuse, and at 16, I decided to leave home. Now, when I was in school, I was labeled as gifted. I was what we call book smart, and leaving home at 16, I developed street smarts, and I was able to get a house and a car. I went to university. I was studying for 2 degrees. So I was checking all of the boxes that society told me, if you do these things, you're going to be happy. And it wasn't too long after I was almost through university that I decided that I wanted to take my own life. I was suffering from anxiety and depression, and on the outside, everything looked amazing, but on the inside, I was absolutely miserable. And I realized that the book smarts and the street smarts could only take me so far. There was a third type of intelligence that was missing, and that was relationship intelligence. The ability to build a beautiful relationship with myself, to love myself, to build trust with myself, and then to build relationships with other people. And once I understood that, and I started to do the research and understand human psychology and neuroscience around relationships, my whole life changed. I traveled to a new country, as I was telling you, the beautiful sunny Barcelona. I met my gorgeous Italian husband. I built a nearly 7-figure business. I now have freedom to travel the world and to support other people. And I truly, truly believe that when we implement relationship intelligence in all aspects of our lives, we wake up and we start to really connect, which is something that humans are really struggling to do nowadays in their personal relationships and in their professional relationships.
Wow, it's a very deep and inspiring story, really. It took me to places that kind of where I felt so alone and wasn't able to connect with people, because for me, I don't like professionalism in my business. I have to create that connection, real connection with my clients. So I totally understand the last part, but the first part, I want to say a couple of things, if I may. Like starting from scratch and building everything by your own, that is amazing. I congratulate you for that part and for the rest as well. But I really feel it in my heart. So thank you for sharing it in a very, rooted way. So if we come to today's topic, what would you like to share with us today?
I would like to talk about this relationship intelligence in the context of how women can use this when they're building their business and they're building this beautiful life for themselves. You know, women used to have to stay home and do the cooking and cleaning and have children, and we had to get married, and we had all of these rules of what we were supposed to do. And life seemed more simple because we didn't have options. So whether we were happy or not is a different thing, but we had this quite simple life. Now our lives are much more complex because we have so many freedoms, and that's great. We get to live life in alignment with who we truly are. So we can get married or not get married. We can be a stay-at-home mom. We can be a thriving CEO. We can travel the world. We can live wherever we want. We can do whatever we want. And it's absolutely incredible. But the downside of this is that we have to know how to build thriving relationships, because when the relationship is set by society, again, it's easy to follow those rules. But now we have the freedom to create any kind of relationships that we want, and we don't have the education to do that. So as women are advancing in typical education, we're thriving when it comes to university, we're building businesses, we're doing these incredible things, but a lot of us are still suffering in our personal life. We're suffering with relationships, whether we're dating, we're getting exhausting of the dating apps, we're tired of, dating the wrong person and getting our heart broken, we're tired of being in toxic relationships, we're really exhausted, if we are that stay-at-home mom and our partner isn't giving us affection and we don't feel seen and we don't feel heard and we don't feel loved. So the question is, how do we have it all? Because we want it all and we deserve it all. And a lot of times we think, well, you can't, right? But we can with the right education. And what I want women to understand is that if you are struggling in your relationship, or if you're single and you're struggling with dating, it is not your fault. And this lets people relax a little bit. It's not your fault because you don't know what you're doing. If I ask people, when did you learn how to have a thriving relationship? They're like, Riley, never. What do you mean? What? Learn? No. And so how are we supposed to excel at something that we have zero education in? We've never learned from our parents. We've never taken a class in school called relationship intelligence. So how are we supposed to get this right if we just simply have no idea what we're doing? So that allows us to have a lot of compassion for ourselves, to say, it's not that I can't have a thriving relationship, I just don't know how to yet. And that's where relationship intelligence comes in. It really teaches women how to build beautiful, thriving, aligned relationships with themselves. It empowers them to say, I'm not a victim of any circumstance. I get to create my reality, and I get to create those beautiful relationships with my clients, as you were talking about, with my partner, with my friends, and I get to have this incredible, thriving life. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. As you say, thriving relationship, what is the thriving relationship definition for you?
Thriving is what your highest self desires. And that is the beauty of living in the modern day world, is that that's going to change for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's also the same at the core. So humans have the same basic human needs. We're complex on the outside. We have different races and different genders, and we have different sexualities, and we have different interests. But humans at our core, we all want to feel seen, heard, safe, loved, respected, understood, right? Everyone's going to say, yeah, I want that. So a thriving relationship has those core elements, and then any juicy, toppings you want to add on top. I want to travel with my partner. I want us to practice sports together. I want us to have a healthy lifestyle. I want us to build a business. I want us to have children, whatever that means for you. So the first step to creating this is to really get super clear on what your common vision is. What does thriving mean to you? Because again, in the past, relationships were simple. Thriving meant you were married, you had children, you were cooking and you were cleaning, like check, 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 right? And you were like, I'm doing all the things. Again, whether you were happy or not is a different thing. But now we have to choose, what do we want? And there's no one size fits all. And there are a lot of people out there telling you that this is what a relationship is supposed to look like. This is what men are supposed to do. This is what women are supposed to do. And if you do these things, you'll be successful. But it's just not true, because we're billions of people on the planet. We don't all want the same thing. Thank goodness, right?
Exactly.
How boring would that be? So we have to get super clear on, what does that thriving relationship look like to me? And as you go out there searching for your person, it's up to you to express that and be very clear and find that alignment, that compatibility, and be clear about your values, your boundaries, and your expectations. I'll give you an example. There was a couple I was working with. The husband was going out and he was working and he was, providing for his family financially. And the mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was cooking, cleaning, and they were okay. When the pandemic came, the husband lost some of his clients. He lost some of his hours. And so to supplement, the wife took on a part-time job. And she said to him, well, now that I'm working, you can help out with the kids and help out with the house chores, right? And he looked at her and he said, I'm a man. I don't do that. Now, I have my personal opinion of that response, and then I have my professional one, and you're here to hear my professional one.
Okay.
He has the right to not want to participate. He has the right as a human being to say, I want to do this, I don't want to do that. And a lot of us, that makes us cringe, right? Because how could he? But this is, again, the freedom of the modern day world. We get to choose what we want to do. In a relationship, we get to choose what role we want to have. So if you believe as a man, I don't cook, I don't clean, that's it. You as a woman have to make sure that that is the person, you understand the person that you are choosing to be in a relationship with. Because if he says he doesn't want to cook and clean, he has to then go out and find a woman who's okay with that. But the issue is he's now in a relationship with a woman who's not okay with that. So what is your role in the household? It's completely up to you, because again, we're not told by society that you have to do this. So that is up to us to be able to really express, what is it that we're looking for? What are our expectations in a relationship? How do we see the household running? Who's going to make the money? Who's going to take care of the kids? Are we going to have kids? Are we going to both run businesses? So we have to be super clear and say, these are my expectations. These are my values. These are my boundaries. Are you my person? And if not, it's like, love you from a distance, good luck on your search. I'm going to find someone who I share that common vision with. And then we together, we're on the same page when it comes to those non-negotiables. And then we start to build this beautiful relationship together.
Wow, you read my mind. I don't know if all of them was about your professional view on that, but I think in the past it was so clear, as you say, man was the provider, woman was cooking and bringing it into the table. This was the person. And today, roles has changed, yet we still keep the same chores of life as men and women. And I really from personal perspective, I really don't understand that, why it happens. But from the professional side, I understand there are the archetypes that we own for centuries, and it's not easy to change. And also, there are a lot of other things, but for me, the most important part, people forget to ask themselves, even the kid part or cooking or this and that. Personally, I don't cook. I don't like cooking. And it was like that since forever. And when I say this in my society, people kind of get paralyzed. They're paralyzed and feel like, okay, who cooked for you? I have someone cooking, or my husband cooks, or this or that, no matter what it is. But, for me,
the hardest part to digest about that story, it's not in between men and women or the archetypes or roles are fighting, but it is the other women who are giving the reaction to the change. Or when you set your boundaries, you expect your sisters to support you, or if they don't like, they can question themselves. But after I sharing that thing about cooking, or that I don't want to give birth to a life, but I have other ways of giving birth, I see that many people haven't even asked themselves those questions, or if they do, they're not on the same page with the partners. And this really affects their business and their entire life, how it flows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there is a lot of resistance with change. We see this every generation. So women now saying, I don't want to have children. I don't cook. In my household, I don't iron. My husband irons everything. Do not put an iron in my hand. And a lot of people are going to have a problem with that, but it's your relationship.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to eat, you have to have clean clothes, you have to have a clean house. It really doesn't matter who does it. You get to choose. And if that person says, well, I want children and I want to cook and I want to clean, that's perfect for you. And in my relationship, the only person that has to agree with my beliefs is my partner.
Yeah, exactly. Good that you emphasize that. So, what is the connection between creating a thriving business and having a thriving relationship? What do you think about that?
The steps are the same. So I work with couples and I also work with businesses, and I teach relationship intelligence in both environments, and they're extremely similar. I tailor them for the situations, but the concepts and the structure is the same. So we have to start with that vision. And when you get into a relationship, it's really important, as I said, to come to agreements about your non-negotiables, the values, the boundaries, and expectations. Now, those things are going to change because as we grow, as we learn, our preferences change. And so the question is, how do we then navigate the relationship? We used to think that a relationship was in three parts. So you have attraction. I see you from across the room. I'm attracted to you. I want to get to know you. And then we have attachment. Now we're dating. I miss you. I want you. I'm thinking about you. And then we fall in love. And because of the movies and the music and Hollywood, we think happily ever after, the end. But then we have to realize that real life happens. And so the question is not, can I find someone that I love? We're obsessed with love. I want to find the love of my life. I want to fall in love. Well, we've done that, right? Most of us have been in love more than once. But how many of us have created thriving relationships? So it's not even about falling in love. That's actually the easier part. It's about how do I take this love and create a thriving relationship? And that's the navigation part. That requires communication. Most couples have no idea how to communicate effectively. It requires building trust. It requires problem solving, interdependence, partnership, understanding. So these core elements we need in our personal relationship, and we also need it in the workplace. I work with a lot of CEOs. I work with a lot of middle management, and we really work and focus on how do we build trust in the work environment, and how do we build trust when people are coming in and out, left and right. In the past, it was easier because, Bob's been here for 50 years. I know what Bob is going to do. But now we have people coming in every year, every month, that there's a lot going on. And we're not working with the same people that we live in proximity with necessarily. We have people of different races, different genders, different ages, people from different countries, different religious backgrounds. So we have to learn how to work together in the work environment. And if you're a solo entrepreneur, we're also building trust. How do I build trust with myself? How do I build a business? and trust myself that I'm going to figure it out. And that moment that I just want to throw it all away, as an entrepreneur, we all have that moment where we're like, I can't do this. It's never going to work. How do I build trust that I'm going to figure it out? When it comes to burnout, burnout prevention, it's simpler than we think. How do I trust myself to know my limits or to learn my limits? How do I trust myself and build trust with myself to look after myself? If my child was, studying for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, I would have an intervention and be like, honey, you need to go outside and play and, eat and brush your hair. I would look after them and take care of them. So how do we do that with ourselves? How do I build trust with myself that I'm going to look after myself through this entrepreneurial journey? How do I build trust with my audience, with my clients, with other people? Let's say if I'm building a media presence, how do I build trust with journalists? So we have the same concepts in relationships with our partner than we do in relationships in business. We want to be able to practice those things with ourselves, with other businesses, with clients, and that relationship building is really what's going to make a difference between having a successful business and having a thriving one.
Sounds amazing. And I know that you're giving a lot of speeches all around the world, and I know that you're gonna have TED speaking gigs soon. So this is so exciting, and I think it's all about how you build your relationships, right?
Absolutely. I'm on stage talking about relationship intelligence. And again, whether it's personal relationships or business relationships, it's all about connection. And as we move into this future, a lot of people are suffering. They're worried about job security. They're worried about building business in such unstable times. They're worried about whether or not AI is going to take my job. They're worried about the fact that dating apps are exhausting. How am I going to find someone? Am I ever going to fall in love? Am I ever going to have those things that I want? And relationship intelligence gives us that hope, and it gives us that faith that through connection to ourselves, to our community, to each other is really what's going to take us into the future. I had a conversation about AI because I think, this is a hot topic. Everyone's so excited yet scared about AI. And I really want to remind people that AI is created to support us. It's not created to replace us. Now, I can't predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not that tech girl. But it is about remembering that we are the center of our experience. It's that human connection, that authentic connection, and knowing that, again, at our core, we all want the same thing. So when you see that person that voted for a different politician than you, or you see that person, you come across that woman's Instagram post and you're like, why would she say that? Understand that we are all experiencing at our core the same thing. We're all insecure. We're all wanting to create something beautiful for ourselves. We're all trying our best. And it may be that we express that in many different ways. But through connection, compassion, and empathy, we're able to build thriving businesses, beautiful relationships, and communities.
Wow. Thank you for bringing that up. I receive a lot of questions about AI as an astrologer because when you give your birth information, it gives a lot of data. And many of my students are coming to me, I did this and it told me this and that. And what I see is simply it gives a lot of beautiful information, but some part of it's not real or some part of are real and correct. But no matter what, let's assume all the information that comes from the AI is correct. What I see, my students are still coming back to me with that information, with that joy, with the discovery of this information created, triggered within them. And I think this is what you say, like when you have that connection, there is no AI can take your place. But maybe if, this is what I think personally, maybe if we have the fear that we're going to lose our job over AI, it is because we don't do something that really comes from our soul. This is what I question a lot. Each moment is different. Maybe today, as my best version, I'm doing my best, and this is my soul's calling me today, but maybe tomorrow it will not. So maybe asking that question would help us. But if I go back to the success that you are showing and sharing with the world, is there any tips that you would like to share with the audience and that could support them, their journey as entrepreneurs?
Yes, building this relationship with yourself is going to give you ultimate success. And it's not about resources because, again, I left home when I was 16. I had no resources. It's not about opportunity. I was born into money, or I have, the connections to be able to build this business. It's really about building this relationship with yourself. How can I first build trust with myself that I'm going to figure this out? I might not have all the answers right now. When I started my business, I had no idea what I was doing. I actually wasn't even on social media before starting my business. So I wasn't familiar with hashtags and any algorithms and anything. Like, I was starting absolutely from nothing. And the thing is that I knew that I had that vision. That vision was very clear. I wanted to travel the world. I didn't want to have to clock in and clock out and make someone else money. I didn't want to do something that wasn't meant for me. I wanted to feel like I wasn't working. I just want to live my life and happen to get paid for it. I can talk about relationships all day. So I didn't want to feel like work was work. And I wanted to do something that was impactful. So once you have that vision for your life, and then you build trust with yourself that I'm going to figure it out, you cannot not be successful, especially in today's age, because there is a resource, there's a person, there's a thing that's going to help you get there. And it could be that, today I focus on my social media, and tomorrow I focus on getting more business strategy, and the next day I try to figure out PR. And there is a way to do everything, and it's just this idea that everything is figure outable. I recently jumped on a platform called Digital Boost. So if any of you need business support, it is free mentorship, and I absolutely love it because there are people out there who are experts in, this part of business or that part of business. And for free, they will help you. They will, help you with social media. They'll help you with business strategy. They'll help you with, I'm using them now specifically for B2B marketing. Doing the business relationships is a little bit newer in my business than the personal relationships. So I had to figure out how do I do sales B2B? That's something that I've never done before. So there's so much that you can find out there to teach you the things that you need to grow and to be successful. And it's just about building that trust with yourself and saying, I'm going to figure it out. And along the way, I'm going to look after myself. I'm going to take care of myself, make sure that you have that self-care in place. And at the end of the day, just celebrate every step that you take, because you're not going to wake up one day and be like, poof, I'm successful. It really is.
I wish so.
You win every day. I remember when I got my first PR, I think I was featured in Cosmopolitan, and I was just, head over heels, super excited. And we have to celebrate every single win, whether that's a new client, a new connection. Even if you have one like on Instagram, you never know what that one like is gonna produce. So celebrating and having that appreciation and that gratitude for yourself of all the accomplishments that you're continuing to make along the way.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, sharing for all the tips and inspiring story of yours. It has been a pleasure for me to listen to you today. Is there anything else you would like to share with people who are listening to us? I don't know, about your work, yourself, or any more tips? You already shared a lot, but feel free just before we wrap it up.
Yeah. So going back to personal relationships, it's really important that if you want to have a thriving relationship with a partner, that you learn the tools of how to build a relationship, because it's not just about I'm going to love you so much, this is somehow going to work out. And this is why people break up, and this is why people get divorced, because they don't have the tools. And when they finish that relationship, what do? They're single, and then they find someone else and say, oh, this is, so much better than my last partner. But then after a week, a month, a year, we're falling back into the same pattern. And we have partner after partner after partner thinking, oh, there's no good men, there's no good women. But the issue is that we don't know how to build this relationship. So if any of you are interested in learning a step-by-step technique, I have a free masterclass called the Power Couple Blueprint. If you want to just send me a message on Instagram at Riley Molinario, I would love to send that to you, because it genuinely breaks my heart to see people suffering in their relationship, not because they're bad people, but because they just don't know how to overcome conflict. They don't know how to come to agreements. My partner wants this, I want that. What do we do? Or I don't feel seen, I don't feel heard, I feel disrespected. How do we navigate those situations? And we can not only navigate them, but we can prevent them from happening in the first place. I believe in 100% fight-free relationships. I never fight with my husband. It's not magic, it's technique. So yes, that's my gift to your audience, because I genuinely want to see people in these beautiful, loving, romance lives and romantic relationships the same way that we've always fantasized about.
Yeah, we all deserve it. And I think that's amazing what you're sharing. It's important to build the right relationship and choose the right partner as well. Thank you so much, Riley, for all the gems you shared with us today.
Thank you so much. I've loved it. Thank you.
So, everyone, thank you for listening to us. And I'm sure you're going to love this episode. So, please feel free to reach out Riley through her Instagram, where you will find in the show notes. And looking forward to talking to you next time. As I always say, may joy be with you.